This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
And Mark, we were going to start the podcast off with one thing, and I think we got to start off with something else because as Sean Anderson tweeted to me moments before we hit the record button, LA's got to bring their 29 jerseys out because the Rams are coming back home. They're coming back home, Mark.
Yeah, you know what? California, 3 teams, not enough. Need 4. Need to have 4 teams. That's where it's at.
LA needs a football team.
It blows my mind.
They need a football team.
They had a football team twice.
I know. They need one.
And they failed
They
twice.
need one.
And now one of the teams that failed in LA is coming back to LA. And the other team that failed in LA maybe will come back too. Maybe. A lot of things got to happen to make that happen, though.
And I think because we're going to get into the LA, what can happen? Is it just the Rams? Who else can move with them? The details we have right now. But before we go into everything with LA, I think do we need to give our condolences to the St. Louis market?
Yeah, let's give them a moment of silence. All right.
That was enough of a moment of silence.
Well, you couldn't keep your team, so.
And that's actually where I want to start, is with St. Louis, because no one thinks about, this team moved. What happens to the fan base? Before we talk about LA, if you were a Rams fan, Mark,
Yep.
in St. Louis, you lived in St. Louis, you got 3 options. You become an LA Rams fan, you become a Kansas City Chief fan, or you become a fan of another team. What do you do?
Well, I actually, when you look at the different directions you're going in, Chicago and Indianapolis aren't that far, so you could pick either the Bears or the Colts.
I could see. Here's the only thing: I cannot see a Ram fan being a Bears fan if they are also a St. Louis Cardinal fan, because you hate Chicago because of the Cubs.
Ricky, you're a Vikings fan and a Cubs fan.
Yeah, but
So
we don't hate Minnesota. It would be different if I was a Sox fan.
Yeah, I
because
think you're
Sox
still
would hate Minnesota. You guys hate Minnesota, right?
I don't think they would. I don't think that people
you guys
would
hate the
look
Tigers.
at it too much. I don't think people would look at it too much that way. It's the next closest team besides Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Then, of course, the Colts are there. Unfortunately, the Colts and the Bears are both kind of bad right now. So
That's why
Kansas
you go to
City's the
Kansas
only
City.
option. Yeah, you basically are by default a Kansas City fan. Unless you want to go the other way and become a Tennessee Titans fan, but they're not good either.
No, the only one that's good around the area is Kansas City. Do you completely shun the Rams? Like, I am no longer a Rams fan because Kroenke left. The Rams didn't leave you. Kroenke left you.
You know, someone actually, it's a little bit different, but someone once asked me if there would, so we're in Chicago, we're on the south side. If someone asked me if a new team came into Chicago, a new football team, and they were on the south side.
Like Tinley Park, Illinois, because no one else knows where that is besides you.
Sure, or just the south side of Chicago. Would you switch from being a Bears fan, which are the north side team, to the south side team?
Is it really a north side
We're just
team?
using that as an example.
I know, but like, is Soldier Field really north side? I don't think
further.
it is.
They're actually pretty center, but it would just be, would you switch in that case? So the thing is, like,
No.
Do you lose your loyalties for something like this? I think, to tie that back to this question of your team leaves, do you lose your loyalties? I think it'd be tough to lose them. I do think it would be tough to lose them. At the same time, I do make fun of Arizona Cardinals fans who tell me, who live in Chicago and say,
Who were not
born, Chicago.
Yeah, who were not born when they were in Chicago.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
You've never seen a Chicago Cardinals game, but you're a Cardinals fan. No, I do make fun of them for that. I think part of me too, though, I kind of feel like I would be mad, I would be angry at this team, and I almost would say, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm a Seahawks fan. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to go in the division. Like, if we're in the Chicago right now, if our division right there, and Chicago Bears, they leave, they go to LA, they go to San Antonio, they go to London, wherever it might be, part of me wants to say, fuck you, I'm a Packers fan.
Yeah.
Just as, like, you guys left me here.
Well, like, for me, my situation's a little bit different. if the Vikings, and they're not going anywhere because they just bought a new stadium that's going to open
Plus,
up.
who wants them?
Yeah, who wants the Vikings, right? I mean, after Blair Walsh misses kicks, you shouldn't make that fucking kick.
Laces.
But
Nothing but lace.
I know, right? Fire the holder. But
You know what? Fire the whole team. Kick them all out. Move them to London.
I said during the Hall of Fame game we should have cut Blair Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was right. However, back to what I was going to say, and my situation is different. If the Vikings leave, there was one of two things I would do. One, just say, fuck it, I'm a Bears fan.
Mm-hmm.
Or number two is I would do something with our YouTube channel and kind of sell my fandom to a fan base for charity. But if no one wanted to do that, I'd just say, screw it, I'm a Bears fan because I live here in Chicago. But let's look at the plans that were in play today. And there were basically two of them that were thrown out there. The first one that I thought everyone was going to vote for, and this seemed like it made the most sense. Oakland and San Diego, the Chargers and the Raiders, join up, share a team, share a stadium, not a team, a stadium in Carson, California, LA area. Mm-hmm. And it made sense because I was watching NFL Live. I don't know the LA, like geographically in LA because I don't live out there, but they explained it. Apparently, it's a little bit more south. It's closer to that San Diego area, so fans could still travel up to Carson.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little further to get to LA and Inglewood.
The way they described it on ESPN was Inglewood to San Diego. I believe they said it's like from Cleveland to Pittsburgh or from Philly to Baltimore. That's the distance that you would have to travel to go to a game. And then they started talking about this. Well, the Rams could host another team. Rams, Chargers. And it's funny how the man behind this is the fantasy football owner who owns a football team.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones. He got his wish.
Mm-hmm.
Rams are back in LA. They're going to be in Inglewood. They're going to move this season. The Chargers have a year. They have until this time, actually, this Saturday will be the year mark. Like, boom, you have a year from this date to work with the Rams to lease their stadium, and you guys can share the stadium. Otherwise, the Raiders get that opportunity. And, I mean, are you excited that the Rams are in LA? Is this good for football?
No, it's not good for football. It doesn't do anything for football. Nothing changes, I don't think, really. I will say one thing.
Except the NFC West is more of the NFC West now.
Yeah, sure, but no one cares about that much.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, like when even players, they're not that concerned about it. You work it into your schedule. 2.5 hours from San Diego to LA. I just want to point that out. And just because I'm curious, let's look it up. 6 hours from Oakland to LA. So it's a lot easier for San Diego fans to make that trip than it is. You could fly from Oakland to LA if you wanted to. You have that option.
California is a big state.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. So I don't think, I mean, honestly, like historically, yes, it's cool that the Rams are back home in LA. But you feel bad for the Raiders. I mean, that's for St.
The
Louis.
Rams fans, yeah.
And also the Raiders fans that are not back in LA. The thing that would have made the most sense, if you really want both teams there, it doesn't make that much sense because then San Diego's just hanging out, is to move both the LA teams back to LA and say, here, you guys go. But then you're screwing over two fans. I mean, it's unfortunately, this was a lose-lose situation. Fans in San Diego and fans in LA, and fans in St. Louis are not happy. They just lost their teams. Their teams are now in LA. Somebody loses in this situation no matter what. Yes, LA wins. The NFL will probably make more money, even though I still stand by the fact that LA has proven multiple times it cannot support an NFL team.
See, I think that's different now.
Maybe because the LA Lakers suck.
Well, the Lakers suck. The Clippers are good, but let's be honest. The Lakers still suck, and they're more popular than the Clippers because of a certain Kobe Bean Bryant.
Yeah.
However, both of those teams are like, nobody cares about the LA Galaxy. It's like, what, soccer? People watch the MLS?
And we've been yelled at for saying this before, but nobody cares about the LA Kings.
They're probably the most popular. If I had to take a guess, They're probably the most popular.
But hockey's like one of the least popular sports.
Hockey's one, and that's why they're probably not one. It's probably still the Lakers. However, I would say the Kings because they've won the recent championships.
The one
for
thing
LA
that this kind of benefits, for the NFL is we'll use Drake as an example because Drake changes his favorite team every other day.
It's Hollywood.
It's Hollywood, and tons of celebs are going to be there. They're going to watch the games. They're going to buy the jerseys. Kids are going to see them buy the jerseys. They're going to want to buy them too. The little hat, the shoes, whatever it might be. So merchandise-wise, this can be a great deal. But like I said, I don't know that LA as an area cares that much. It's tough. I mean, I guess it could be compared to New York. It could be compared to San Francisco of just areas that are super expensive, super crowded. It works there. Is it going to work in LA? Maybe this time it finally will. Third time's the charm, right?
Yeah, now I think it'll work. However, I'm going to throw out a negative against my point because I love that the Rams came back. I'm sorry if you live in St. Louis and you're heartbroken that your team left you. I couldn't imagine what that heartbreak would be like. It would kind of be like because the only team in Chicago I would care enough for about that, it would kind of be if the Cubs said, you know what, we're going to leave and we're going to go play in Arizona.
Yeah.
We're just going to go down where we play in spring training. We're going to play around Mesa by Chicago. It's been fun. That's about the heartbreak that I believe you are feeling with me because that's my favorite team. However, the negative thing I was going to throw out there is you've kind of pointed at it's the market's saturated in California. Now you're taking a team, throwing them in LA. Now you can say, well, Ricky, LA hasn't had a pro team, so maybe like those LA faithful say, oh, I'm going to cheer for the Rams just because they're in LA. However, I'm guaranteeing there are people that live in LA that for the past few years, just because they're in California, they've chosen either the Raiders, the Chargers, the 49ers, just because it's like, oh, that's my team. They're from the state of California.
Yeah.
So that's the negative to me. You're saturating that market, that LA market. However, I think that there's going to be fans in LA that say, you know what, I'm a Rams fan, especially those older ones that are like, man, it's kind of like what my dad always says, oh, man, I used to be a fan of the Browns when I was a kid. Well, those Browns that my dad watched are now playing in Baltimore.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. The old Rams fans go, man, I used to love the Rams, and now I'm a Rams fan again.
I think it'll be some of that. It'll be bandwagoners jumping on, of course. And then I think it'll be kids. With the NFL's, well, not necessarily the NFL, but if these teams are really smart about it, they'll make it super kid-friendly. And they seemingly are with like having a pool in the stadium and stuff like that. Get those kids there so that way you can foster that and grow that fan base that way. Because my mom actually brought up a great point. I was talking to her when my family always picks the NFL games in the playoffs. So I was talking to her about LA, and she didn't understand why LA had never had a team before. And her thing she kind of thought of was, is part of the reason because there are so many transplants, non-natives to LA. People go to LA. People want to move to that area. She was wondering, is it possible that these people are coming in and saying, I'm from Dallas. I'm
already a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I'm not going to be a fan of this new team because I already have my team. I'm from New York. I'm a Jets fan.
That's why I think the only way this works is kind of like what you already mentioned. The Lakers. I bet you there are people in LA that are like, I'm a Lakers fan. However, when I turn on a Lakers game, Jack Nicholson, Will Smith, star, Hollywood, that's all I see is what kind of stars are sitting courtside. Now, in football, it's a little different. You're not going to see them in the front row seats. However, that first Rams game in 2019 when they opened the stadium, how many stars are we going to see in those skyboxes?
But something that is interesting, too, and you mentioned the skybox. That's a great way to put it. Because there's a certain status to being courtside.
Yeah, because you're right there in front of the action.
And the camera goes by and we see you. You're right there. There's a certain status to that there's not really the same status to being up in the press box or the little whatever.
The
it's not
only thing
press,
is you
but-
get shown on TV still.
Yeah.
But you get shown on TV wherever you go if you're Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's a little different. I wonder if that makes a difference because you do every once in a while, but in football games they don't really focus on that star that's there, that rich person that's there.
Sometimes they do.
Not as often though as
Not
other
as
games.
often because and
I think part of that
times
too
where
is
if they have a break in the action, they'll
in the
show
court.
'em.
For basketball,
You're always
we're
seeing
talking
them
about
just
the Lakers
through the game because it's panning back and forth.
and just the way it is too. Everybody is focused in the middle. You're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Very attention.
Or during the game, I'm not going to see you because no one's looking at the skybox while it's angled down.
So I don't know if stars necessarily are going to be at the games.
They're going to go.
But I don't think they're necessarily going to go as much as they're just going to wear the stuff. They're going to wear. They're going to say I'm LA because they don't really get much out of going as they do a Lakers game. They get something out of being at a Lakers game.
It's a game. They're going to go, especially if the Rams do good and make the playoffs.
I think you're underestimating the value to them of being seen when they're there.
They're gonna. If
it's a personal appearance.
If there's
is what
enough,
the deal is.
I bet you that this. I'm going to throw this down. First game of the 2019 season.
2019.
Well, that's when the stadium opens. Because we haven't talked about, and we have to get to this of where the Rams going to play.
Yeah.
Until 2019, that first game of 2019, there's going to be a ton of stars.
Sure.
And
at the first game, it'll definitely die out.
And every single during that first game, every single time there's a break. If you're watching, I bet you it'll even be on prime time. They'll put the first game back in LA in the new stadium, not the first game in LA for this next season.
Yeah.
In that new stadium. Week 1, put it on like Monday night because they usually have 2 games that night. Put it on the last game of the week.
Well, it'd be easy in that case. Yeah.
Put it in that time. It's a prime time Monday night game. Every single break.
Does that count as prime time?
Yeah.
No, that's like late prime time.
Every single time Tirico and Gruden are taking a break, Gruden's talking about Jack Nicholson being out there. Man, that's wild, man. I'm around all the stars today, man.
I think the NFL is going to try and play it up, but I don't think it's going to. I don't know. I'm not convinced it's going to go. I'm not convinced that it has the same impact, football compared to basketball, for the stars.
It's a different level. However, there will be stars that go to these games because they're not going to be seen as much as you say.
Yeah.
However, they're still going to be seen. And let's get into what I brought up. So the Rams move to LA. They're going to move this season. However, that new stadium isn't built in 2019. That's going to be the season when the stadium's done. They have a few places, the Rams do, that they can play. Nothing's been set in stone. Here are the options. I'm going to ask you which one you would pick. The first one, home of the Trojans. You play in the Coliseum. Here's the only thing. If the Chargers tomorrow say, yeah, you know what, we'll join you, then they can't play in the Coliseum because the Coliseum has something in its contract to where 2 pro teams can't play in the Coliseum. So, if the Rams are going to play alone, they can play in the Coliseum. Number 2, Pasadena playing the Rose Bowl. Options 3 and 4, to me, the least likely option. The least likely option has got to be Dodger Stadium. And then the third less likely, but a little bit more likely than the Dodgers is, I believe it's in Carson. It's the LA Galaxy Stadium. I want to say it's the StubHub Center. They can play there. You know, the Seahawks, they share a stadium with their MLS team. I want to say they're the Sounders. So they could do that. To me, if I'm picking Mark, got to go with the Rose Bowl. Well, you got to go with the Rose Bowl unless it's just you. Then the Coliseum or the Rose Bowl, that's what you got to do.
I say go for the Rose Bowl.
More seating.
More seating. It's just, I think it's nicer.
You don't have to share it until you get to the Rose Bowl.
You're not
game.
worried about that. Because otherwise you're worried about Saturday turnaround for Sunday, and that's a pain for the staff that's working there. They're not going to be happy about that. It's much easier to just do it at the Rose Bowl because what happens at the Rose Bowl besides the Rose Bowl? So that's my go-to. It's not far from LA at all. It's the opposite direction of Inglewood, but really who cares? And it's just, it's a nice glitzy type of area, very similar to what LA already is. Easy decision for me.
Now, the one thing I got to look up, and I'm looking at it right here. Next year, this is the only kind of hiccup I think that the Rams will have with the Rose Bowl. And actually, you know what? They won't have this hiccup this next year. The only time they'll have this hiccup is the 2017 season. So this next year, they'll be fine in the Rose Bowl because college football, how the playoffs work is the 2 semifinal games that are going to be on New Year's Eve. Peach Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, doesn't matter. National Championship, which is on a Monday, it's in Tampa next year. Whew, doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about that. However, in 2017, that season, the Rose Bowl is a semifinal site. Usually it's a Thursday night. However, is that going to throw a hiccup into the Rams' plans? And then they may say, you know what? Let's just do the Coliseum because we know the Coliseum will always be Saturday, Sunday.
Well,
Saturday,
that's easy.
Sunday.
All the Rams have to not do is just not play Thursday that week.
So you're talking the NFL just has to not schedule
it's
this
easy.
Thursday.
The NFL considers scheduling conflicts all the time. Mm-hmm. This is nothing new to them. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, because that's the Rose Bowl is only used during like the playoffs, the 2017 season. The next time it's used in the playoffs, they're going to have their Inglewood Stadium.
Yeah.
So do you still pick the Rose Bowl?
Oh, without a doubt. I don't want to put up with Saturday, Sunday every week.
Because you're thinking
Well,
of the
not necessarily
workers.
every week, but you're going to have quite a few times where it's going to become an annoying problem.
Or do you have it to where, okay, we'll use the Coliseum, NFL, you have to do your scheduling to where when the Trojans are home, we don't play at home that Sunday. Maybe we're the Thursday game one week. Maybe we're on the road another time. Where it's like if the Trojans are home, we're either on the road or maybe on a Monday or a Thursday that
Which
week.
is definitely possible and probably the most likely situation as opposed to a Saturday, Sunday. But if I'm the NFL in that case, I'm saying, well, yeah, you guys can't make it work out in Pasadena? You guys can't do that? Because then we only got to worry about one game next year. Otherwise, we got to do all this stuff. We got to coordinate it with them. It's a pain. And the NFL doesn't want to do that.
And the one thing that I'm thinking about, too, is I know this is probably low on the totem pole. If they play in Pasadena, there could be, it's kind of like the Vikings when we played in Golden Gopher Stadium. You could see Golden Gopher stuff all over the stadium.
Yeah.
No Minnesota Viking logo in the center. However, if you're in Pasadena, no one uses that stadium till the Rose Bowl. We can have a nice Ram logo in the middle. You can have LA Rams in the end zone. It could feel like your stadium more than the Coliseum would. And
you can even do that too. It would be easy enough even if San Diego decided to join them. You know, make that work out. Because there's going to be that year overlap.
Here's the only hiccup with the Coliseum that I just looked into. This season, January 1st, falls on a Sunday. So that would be the Rose Bowl game, like the bowl game.
Yeah.
Is on that day.
Just makes that one game has to be away.
Has to be either away or on a Monday or Thursday.
So you got 2 games in 2 years that you have to worry about.
2 games in 2 years.
It's a lot easier. A lot easier than playing at USC Stadium.